Lauren Boebert has declared that today is going to be 1776. Today. So apparently today, January 6, 2021, Lauren Boebert is announcing a revolution or a civil war or a North Korean takeover of our government. So this article from the Washington Post is going to say that this is a congressional coup. This is a congressional coup. And then this other article says, okay, it's a congressional coup, but they say it's dead in the water. It's not going to pass in Congress. But what's next? Is there going to be more shit? It's been nonstop fucking bullshit for 2 fucking months. Motherfucker clearly lost the goddamn election, and what the fuck keeps on telling everybody it's fraudulent and keeps lying. You know, we thought it was for Grifton. The motherfucker probably believes this shit. For 2 months he's been saying that he's going to, take the election. It's going to be historic and fantastic. And now Boebert's saying it's 1776. She was saying that it was the Electoral College that counted, but not anymore, right? So shit. It's just becoming fucking partisan right from the get-go. Here's Donald Trump putting pressure on Mike Pence to overturn the election. So there's going to be 140 Republicans and 11 senators that are going to protest, that are going to, object to the Electoral College votes. And then it's supposed to go for a vote, and then Pence is supposed to certify it or not certify it. So he says whether the votes are good or whether the votes are bad, whether he believes the objections or does not believe the objections. And so that's his role, just to sit there and watch them fucking count the votes and say if they, did it right.
Hello, Georgia. By the way, there's no way we lost Georgia. There's no way.
You lost Georgia not once, not twice, but 3 times.
That was a rigged election.
It was a rigged election. Now everybody go out and go vote.
Vote tomorrow will decide
in a rigged election?
Party controls the United States Senate. The radical Democrats are trying to capture Georgia's Senate seats so they can wield unchecked, unrestrained, absolute power over every aspect of your lives.
So they're talking about themselves. They are projecting. He's the one that's pushing for a totalitarian government, a dark nightmare in 1984, where he just takes over forever and ever, declares himself emperor for life, pushing for tyranny, fighting against democracy. This is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. It was trending, stop the squeal, right? People are not taking this serious. Francesca says, coups to say. It's not, it's not just a cutesy thing. It's not just a cutesy thing. It's a coup. So it's not a congressional coup. It's just a flat-out coup d'etat, which is a violent takeover of a government. That's what this, congressional coup, what's next? What's next? Yeah, you're allowed to lodge your objections, and once that fucking fails, or is there something else? Is there something else? What else is going to happen? Here's a quote. Let's hear more from Donald. Oh, yeah, and then he wants to say that it's absolute tyranny. Kamala Harris has to be the deciding vote because the Senate is now 50-50. That's not, Democrats controlling everything. That's the Republicans control half of fucking shit. Democrats barely have power. They have to get all the Democrats, and then Kamala has to agree with them. So they got to get all the Democrats and Kamala on board in order to pass anything. If one Democrat deflects, then that's nothing. And they might have to get a Republican to come on board, but that's to say that they got absolute power. Also, the Supreme Court is Republican, and so the Supreme Court's going to be Republican the whole time. Even if 3 of them died, 2 of them, 3 of them, I don't know, but a bunch. It's super fucking Republican. So it's not an absolute, dictatorship. The Democrats only have 2 branches, and they only barely got 1. They got the executive branch totally, but they barely have Congress. Barely.
If the liberal Democrats take the Senate and the White House, and they're not taking this White House, we're going to fight like hell, I'll tell you right now.
Yay! Fucking coup d'etat. So there's no chance at all, this is just some fucking expert, that the framers of the original Constitution, or the 12th Amendment, would have granted the Vice President unilateral power to decide who is to be President. There's no textual support whatsoever in the Constitution for the notion that the Vice President is alone responsible even to count the Electoral College votes, let alone to unilaterally decide which votes are valid and thus can be counted. So Mike Pence doesn't even count the votes. He watches the votes be counted by other people. And so he's watching the votes be counted, says whether it's good or not, And that's his fucking job. So it's not his job to say, ultimately that decision does lead to who becomes the president and who doesn't become the president. So I think, Donald understands, like, the large strokes, but not the finer details. And since we're conservatives around here, then it's not in the Constitution. What the fuck are you talking about? So the expert Lutgig, J. Michael, a judge, former federal appeals judge, J. Michael Luttig, the only responsibility and power of the Vice President under the Constitution is to faithfully count the Electoral College votes as they have been cast. Period. The only responsibility and power of the Vice President under the Constitution, the 1789 bullshit, shitty-ass document that we all have to live by because that's the basis of all the laws, is to faithfully count the Electoral College votes as they have been cast. J. Michael Luttig. So, Donald, what do you say to that?
And I hope Mike Pence comes through for us, I have to tell you.
I hope Mike Pence, steals this election because, I can't steal by myself. Nobody seems to be supporting me. I mean, it's like everybody is like, okay, you lost the election, you lost the Electoral College, you're not really the president. It's like, shut up, you.
I hope that our great vice president comes through for us. He's a great guy. Of course, if he doesn't come through, I won't like him quite as much.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. So Mike Pence has been totally loyal and kissed Donald's ass, stood by his side, put a nice face on all of his crazy fucking, bullshit, his craziness, put a nice professional face on his insanity. And Mike Pence has to fucking stand up to him. His final performance is going to be, no, fucking Donald, go fuck yourself. Here, you want a cocktail? You want to sit down? I'm not going to fucking obey you. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're 100% wrong. Or maybe he'll try it. Or maybe Donald will try something else. Who knows, He's only got what? It's January 20th. January 20th, so we only got 14 days, 2 fucking weeks. He's going to sit around and keep fucking around. So what? On the 19th, he'll still be sitting on his fat ass, and then what? 1 minute at midnight, he'll, slowly stroll out of the White House. What the fuck? And Joe's sitting there complaining about the transition team. Joe needs to organize a speech and organize a plan for a contingency plan for what the fuck happens when a tyrannical, low-life piece of shit tries to take the presidency, tries to steal the presidency. He should be impeached. He should be impeached for trying to steal the election, Georgia, all the shit that he's doing right now. All this is impeachable. What, he's fucking with democracy in, Ukraine or what the fuck? What about the democracy here? All this shit is fucking impeachable. Every bit of this, every president up until Donald has conceded on the election day or close to election day just to heal the country, to unite the nation. Look, we're, passing the baton to the next person, but instead of doing that, Donald is going to fucking keep dividing the nation even after he steps down from the presidency. His whole fucking presidency was hatred and meanness and shittiness and divide and hate and meanness and shittiness. He didn't fix poverty. He didn't legalize nothing. He didn't end the wars. He was a fucking worthless, there's only a handful of fucking accomplishments. Only a handful. And I won't even mention them right now because what an asshole.
No, Mike is a great guy. He's a wonderful man and a smart man and a man that I like a lot.
Okay, so he went from, hey, Mike, you better fucking obey, you piece of shit, to, you want to be lovers? So, I don't know. I hope today is the 4th day of the 4-day shit week. So I hope this congressional coup is stopped today. I hope Lauren Boebert does not get her way, or the fucking 140 House Republicans, that's not a majority. 11 Senate Democrat or Republicans, that's not a majority. So it probably is dead in the water, but you don't know until you know. So the Republicans are going to force the vote, right? They're going to force the vote on the Electoral College. I don't know. Not exactly. But we should force the vote to get Bernie Sanders to become the Senate leadership. I think it's a good idea.